Hey everyone, it's Erin here with Time Saving Templates. I've got a quick but super useful Excel tip for working with dates. This is going to be the first video in a series all about working with dates in Excel. So with this example, I'm going to be using some of the HR templates we have for calculating turnover based on employee tenure. So we need to determine based on a date of hire how long an employee's been at the company and things like that. And working with dates also can be a challenge for any other small business or even rental property management, whether you're tracking dates that you have different tenants coming to your vacation rentals or tracking customer order dates and things like that. Okay, so first I'm going to dive right into this example. We are looking at some sample data, employee numbers, their date. We're going to say this is date in the position because we want to calculate their time in the position. And this was sample data that was used from the variable compensation bonus worksheet, which has a bunch of other tabs, but we're going to just focus in on how do we get this calculated. So we are going to use the DATEDIF formula, and we're looking at how long they've been in position, but we need to have two dates to calculate. We need the date in position, and we also need another date. And I'm going to go ahead and use today's date. So there's a formula that will always put in today's date. It's just equal today, and then do your parentheses, and that's going to give me today's date. But keep in mind, if we're using performance ratings for, say, calculating bonuses or maybe a merit increase, sometimes you may want the time and position as of a snapshot date. So if this bonus was for the full year of 2024, for example, maybe I want the tenure as of December 31st, 2024. So just something to think about. But for this example, I'm just going to use today's date. So it's just going to be pretty simple, dated if, and then from there, we're just going to select the two dates, starting with the start date in position. So the earlier date, comma, and then the current date or the date that is most recent. Gonna select here whether we want the date to return the year or the month or the day. It's either Y, M, or D. So let's try a couple of these and we'll see what different results we get. I'm gonna start with the year and then close parenthesis. And then now it's giving me 4 years from July 2020 to February 2025. I'm going to go ahead and add my function F4 to this C2 value so I can drag this formula down to everybody, and it's still referencing my today's date. So yeah, it looks like it's rounding. So people hired in January are being counted at 5 years, even though it's probably 5 years in a month or two. Let me just check if I format, it's formatted as a general. If I format it as a number with a decimal, okay, it's not rounding the decimal, it's just giving us the full year. Okay, so now I am going to add this label years for time and position, and let's try the next formula using month or days even. So we're going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to copy this formula and paste it right here. So now I can just click into the formula and I want to change the Y to M for month. And now it's going to give me 55 months. So there could be different reasons why you'd want to categorize it in months, depending on how else you're working with the data. if I just take the months divided by 12, then that's going to give me the decimals that it didn't really do with the years. I'm just going to format this to 2 decimals, and then that'll give a more accurate depiction, including the months. And then we could also do the same thing for days, in case you're looking at how many days in a program or days since something occurred. I'm going to just copy this same DATEDIF and change the M to D for days. And now it's giving me all of that. So 365 days in a year. I could take these days divided by 365. And interesting, I'm getting a slightly different number here than if I just look at months. So this would probably be more accurate. There's some rounding going on when you're just looking at months or just years. That's another way that you could use the month, day, or year in the DATEDIF formula. I said I was going to use the turnover template, but real quick, I have some sample data. I'm going to copy and paste. Now this is looking at the hire date here. I'm going to paste it in, and at first I'm getting an NA, and that is because the DATEDIF formula is referencing the tenure as of. So that's where I was saying, if you're working with turnover reports, you're going to be looking at a specific time frame. So the turnover for the month of January, or the turnover for the year. So we're just going to put, for this example, 1/1/25. Once I fill that out, now it's calculating the months, the days, months, years, and the actual tenure. This takes it a step further, and we're putting their tenure range into a tenure category. So there's a lot of different tabs in here, but the set up tenure ranges is here. This is set up to be dynamic for how you want to categorize, and the green cells mean that you enter and define what categories you want. So this is entered from the 3rd year to the 10th year, and that's why we're getting people over 5 years, which we have the label 3 to 5 years. So this would actually need to be set to 5 years, and then the next row should contain the 5 to 10 year. So now if I go back to the previous list, now I see that those over 5 years are now mapped to the 5 to 10 year option. So that is something you can group however you want. You can set different tenure ranges. You just got to enter the year and the months that you want to look at and add the labels for that. So I have another video that goes over how to set up and use the turnover template, but I just thought it was a good thing to mention that you're looking at tracking when you're looking at dates, and we're going to look at the tenure report for turnover. The final report would look something like this, where we would have the head count in the beginning, how many are in the different tenure categories that you set, how many terminations happen, and you need to determine how much tenure the employee when they terminated. This formula is already in here, but instead of looking at the current date, I'm looking at the date of hire to the termination date. So let me put in some examples here. There's a tab for involuntary and voluntary termination. You can enter your termination reason, job title, all of this. We need a date of hire. Just like I did before, I would do the DATEDIF, and then I would start with the date of hire, comma, and now the term date. and everybody has a different term date. And then we're going to do another comma, and let's do the year, and then close parenthesis. And then that gives us how many years of service at termination. So that lines up with how our formulas are already calculating over here. 8 to the year is not adding in the months yet, so we'd have to do one of those other calculations. But yeah, that's what this turnover template can help calculate that piece for you. And then if I come back to turnover summary, you'll see that now it's showing me that we had 2 terminations occurring in the 1 to 3 year. So it's giving me the counts per tenure category. So that is useful information if you notice there's a certain tenure or something where terms are happening pretty frequent. So real quick, if you are interested in finding out more about that turnover template or the other variable comp template, just be sure to go to timesavingtemplates.com and click on the shop section in the HR spreadsheets. That'll take you to all of the HR templates we have. You can find that turnover one, but I'll be sure to link to that in the notes as well. And also don't forget, we do have free resources that can help you streamline and save time. Just head to timesavingtemplates.com/free resources, and you'll see we have a few different options, whether you're in small business, rental property, or HR and comp, as well as a free guide to get you started with Excel. And then have several other video series that I'm trying to group series of videos together, and you can check those out. And until next time, don't forget, I am here to help you streamline and save time when it comes to using your Excel spreadsheets. And don't forget to subscribe for more Excel and HR tips, and I will see you next time.